So let's get to Labor's carbon tax lie. Well, of course, it's all led by Chris Bowen. I'm just here to help. Why do we have the same jacket on? Well, as you know, as I explained in great detail last night, and thank you for your responses to that segment, the Labor Party's fundamental idea of how we cut emissions in this country is to use a price disincentive. Put simply, to make it too expensive to use the thing that they don't like. It's what they do with cigarettes. So with Rudd, it was an emissions trading scheme, which was a floating price on the top polluters in the country. For Gillard, it was an outright tax on the highest polluters in the country. We assumed that a mix of the two was somewhere where Bill Shorten was going to be, but again, a price disincentive was going to be how they get companies to stop polluting. And as you know, that is the plan that the Labor Party is using. Now, they're pretending that this is some sort of system that Tony Abbott set up. That's not true. They are deciding to twist the system that Tony Abbott set up so that with a stroke of the pen, a carbon tax is applied to the 215 biggest emitters in the country. We're talking about mines, we're talking about the industrial sector, we're talking about the transport sector. And just like with Rudd, Gillard, Shorten, Bowen and Albanese want you to pay as the customer. So you would have thought that it was still headline news that the Labor Party can't answer this question. Remember Jonathan Lee a few days ago.
Will they have to buy carbon credits?
Yeah.
No, you're the Deputy Leader. You don't need the Shadow Treasurer. Surely you would know. No, Mr. Miles, can you please come back? No, I'm asking the Deputy Leader because Mr Albanese isn't here. Does the Deputy Leader know if they will have to buy carbon credits? It's a simple question. He's behind you. Can we not ask him?
But our policy is designed not to disadvantage our exporters against the countries and the companies with which they compete around the world.
I'm now going to ask the Deputy Leader again. Well, Deputy Leader, will they have to buy carbon credits if they go beyond their baseline? And what will those carbon credits cost?
Well, the question has been answered. The question has been answered.
You can answer it again. Will they have to buy carbon credits if they go beyond their baseline?
Well, the question has been answered.
This is not small beer. This is a steaming pile of problems for the Australian economy. Not in 2050, by the way, this year, next year, every year till 2030. And then they were lying to people in coal mining country in Australia, like the Hunter Valley. Oh, no, the coal mines, they won't have to pay this backdoor carbon tax. But then the bloke who actually wrote the policy told the truth.
By taking our energy market to 82% renewables by 2030, we will reduce emissions, increase jobs and reduce power bills. The cheapest form of energy is renewable energy.
If I'm right, and if coal is going to continue to set the wholesale price of power, which sets the retail price of power, then the price of power is going to continue to rise, not just in the short term, but in the long run.
Well, Chris, of course, wholesale power prices are up significantly.
Am I wrong about that?
The modelling is right, Chris. The modelling is correct, which shows power prices coming down as a result of our policy. With all due respect to you, and I have a lot of respect for you, your non-economic model, yes, we will require the 215 emitters to reduce their emissions to net zero by 2050.
So does
that is what the Business Council has asked to happen.
Does it include coal mines?
Yes.
An outright admission of how their plan works. Yet nothing on the 6 p.m. news. No follow-up on the front pages of the newspaper. No conversation with PK in the morning on Radio National because they know their job is to help Aussie Joe Biden. It's all about the PM. It's all about scandals he can't fix. It's turn up the noise and then Albo's promise is vote for me and the noise goes away. Well, Penny Wong today said that the bloke who wrote the policy doesn't understand the policy, but she does apparently better.
Ever require projects in the Beetaloo Basin to buy carbon credits?
I answered in Alice Springs, and I think Mr Bowen has been up this morning, and I haven't seen the transcript in relation to that. We've already responded to that, and I've responded on belief. No, well, the answer is that no coal project will face a carbon constraint that is beyond, that will make them internationally uncompetitive.
We'd be stopping the approval of new coal and gas projects in Australia.
No, what we should be doing is what Labor is doing, a realistic pathway to get to net zero by 2050. But hang on, I hadn't finished my answer, if I may. And to get to net zero by 2050, what we should also be doing is being respectful.
Seriously, this is a freaking protection racket that they are running. They are lying to people, or the bloke who is in charge of the policy doesn't understand it. But I think you and I both know that he does. He just was dumb enough to actually say what it was. Cue the PM.
We are not going to get there by taxing Australians. We're not going to get there by shutting down businesses like this and industries like this. The carbon credits scheme that Labor has put in place, just to be clear, it not only affects the coal industry, it affects mining and oil and gas production. It affects rail freight. It affects cement production. It affects fuel refining, and many other sectors are caught up in those arrangements, which would see them penalised and taxed.
That is exactly the plan. Mark Latham explained it even better on our show last night.
The biggest lie of the lot, and that is no one's going to lose their job. Albanese and Bowen are peddling the lie that nobody in the carbon industries, the fossil fuel sector, will lose their job.
And then there's the bloke who wants to be the Deputy Prime Minister, who unbelievably is continually let off the hook by a media who does not want to tell you the truth about the people who might be forming government in minority with the Greens.